Hello, good morning, and welcome to another Archaeologist's Eye. Today's episode is an answer or solution episode following last week's scenario that I posted. You may recall that we were examining Coronation Street here in Wallsend, one street over from where I live, and crucially as well, a very interesting street because of this new section of houses between seemingly two older sections of houses on one street. In other words, what happened in the middle. And I'm happy to say many of you engaged with this scenario. You were interested by the concept of the series, and you wanted to have a go and guess or figure out what had happened on that street. Now, I have to say, I'm also pleased to say, or to have seen that none of you made any comment about Coronation Street, the soap opera. I was expecting a load of comments along those lines, but you didn't. So good on you all. Well done. Very mature. Now, the guesses and the surmisings that you put on the video comments were all very interesting. Some of you were a little bit reserved, saying I'll see what happens. Others of you were very vocal and said, well, this is what I think happened, this is why. So again, I was really pleased to see the response. And along those lines, the most popular response was that this had been the site of a World War II bomb. During the Blitz, perhaps a bomb had been dropped and blown up the house in the middle, which had then later been replaced following the Second World War. And this is not unreasonable. Wallsend and the North Tyneside region suffered greatly during the Second World War bombing campaign. Wallsend often topped regional lists in terms of casualties and injuries and deaths. And also concussive blasts from bombs had this curious effect quite often where the house that was hit and the houses around it would be damaged beyond repair, but maybe a couple of houses along, the houses would be structurally sound. So you can actually get this happening where buildings in the middle are replaced and the buildings at the end are a little bit older or original on a street. And this can be due to a Second World War bomb being dropped. And I have to say, initially that was my thought. A few weeks ago, I was thinking that has to be it. When I was walking the dog, must be a Second World War bomb explosion site. But there was something that was niggling me, and what was niggling me was the alignment of the architecture. Now, I can point this out on the map. Essentially, the sections, the older sections of buildings to the north and to the south, don't line up with one another. And there's a problem here because if the north and the south sections were built at the same time on the same street, to the same plan essentially, then they would line up. The spines of those roofs, the apex of the roof would line up perfectly, but they don't. They are not. They are misaligned. And this has been niggling me. This is the reason why I wanted to go away and confirm what I was thinking. And what I was thinking was that actually what we're looking at is a street where actually the street was built in different sections. Now, we can prove this by looking at a photograph from 1927. It's actually the only record of this street, of Coronation Street, that I could come across in the local archives. It seems that Wallsend, Coronation Street, most of the records, for example, the directory records, were lost. They just can't be found. But this particular street has this photograph, and this photograph shows quite clearly that there's a gap on Coronation Street where those houses from 58 to 78 are today. Since this photo was taken in 1927, it confirms that those buildings were not destroyed by the Second World War, 1939 to 1945. What's more, when we look at the architecture at each end of the street, there is a marked difference. There are bay windows at one end, with ornate lintels around the windows upstairs. At the other end, there are no bay windows, no front gardens, and a less ornate architecture. These sections of houses were built separately. In other words, Coronation Street was built in sections. There were two different chunks at both ends of the street which were built, and then eventually the middle was filled in. Now, there was an assumption which I inadvertently passed on to you in the scenario video, and that was that because the lane was constant all the way along the back of the houses must have been serviced by that lane all the way along that street. No, that's not the case, and I'm sorry if I misled you there. It seems that actually the lane was there. You can see that again in the 1927 photograph. But the houses are clearly not there, and the section that's visible to the north, the area where it looks like there's fireplaces, perhaps from a collapse where a house maybe hit in the First World War had gone. Those aren't fireplaces. That's just the chimney breast sticking out of the side of the house. It's quite standard in this part of the world. So there you have it. Actually, the answer is not bomb damage, and I can completely see why one would think that. Indeed, I did initially think that. But the answer actually is that these houses were built in sections, and I'm so pleased that that even though the records for this street have all but been lost, that this photo is able to confirm this scenario for us. So there you have it. Hopefully that hasn't been too disappointing an answer, but at the very least, hopefully it's got your brain juices flowing. I've certainly enjoyed thinking about this scenario over the past, as I say, past few weeks, and hopefully I'll be able to bring to you more scenarios in the future. At the very least, this highlights the fact that the smallest of observations can take archaeologists on big mental journeys, and we can try and surmise and figure out the story of something all we want, but ultimately we need more evidence. You can't just go on the evidence of your eyes. If you can, try and back up what you're seeing with other evidence, and often that other evidence will take you down unexpected avenues. Nonetheless, hopefully this has been an interesting exercise for you, and yeah, let me know what you think, how you think it could be improved in the future. I look forward to sharing more of these with you as and when I can. As ever, until next time, do take care. Bye bye.